The response affected me in a number of ways. At first, when he was describing how people are vilifying officers and calling them thugs and animals, at least for me, I thought, well, now you understand how I felt for the last 25 years of my life. But we'll put that aside for a moment. And I want to bring in two attorneys, DeWitt Lacy, a civil rights attorney, as well as Mike Korobonitz, to help me unpack this statement. First and foremost, let's start with you, DeWitt. This is a law that simply says if you are those bad apples, then we as a society, we as defense attorneys, we as defendants should be able to see this. I don't see how this vilifies officers. The good officers don't have those records. So what's the problem here?
I agree wholeheartedly. And, it kind of mirrors some action and legislative action that was done here in California last year through Governor Newsom and the leadership of Shirley Weber here in California, in which the legislature voted and the governor signed into law an act which allows folks to examine the personnel files of officers. That includes disciplinary histories. I don't see how that's a bad thing. If officers are on the up and up and not engaged in any type of unlawful or demeaning or egregious behavior, then this shouldn't be viewed as a bad thing. So I would oppose what this officer was saying in the clip you just showed. It just seems off base. It seems extremely defensive in light of the fact that he's claiming that officers are without a need to really be viewed in this light.
Thank you. Now, Mike Korobonitz, you are a New Jersey defense attorney. You've worked both representing officers, and I also want to say welcome to the Southern District of New York. I know you just got admitted a few days ago, so congratulations to you there. Let's do the counter argument, because the officer is saying, well, it's my personnel file. You have my own personal information that is going to be out there in the public. But that's what redactions are for. I don't want to know where an officer lives or their social security number or any identifying information. I just want to know if they're beating up people in the streets, and if I can show that goes against their credibility on the stand. What else are they arguing?
It's not really clear to me, Brian, because we take this as lawyers, and we're lawyers who go to court and have tried cases. I always think that a personnel file, and I think there needs to be a better definition. I agree with you. I don't want to know anything that's irrelevant to my case. I don't want to know personal information of that nature. But we have courts, we have judges, and we have judges who could decide what's relevant or not relevant. And in this time, and in any time, as a criminal defense attorney, we're always in favor of transparency. Just like if you're representing an officer who other officers are testifying against or things of that nature, I'm sure that officer would want me as his attorney to know everything in their personnel file to attack the credibility. The one thing I think that may be something to discuss is there's always that danger of frivolous claims against a police officer that maybe are not unsubstantiated or things of that nature, but that's almost becoming less relevant with social media, because if somebody has a beef with a police officer, they go to Twitter, Facebook, things of that nature, and it's out there anyway. So I just always am in favor of transparency.
Yeah. Now, 50A, before it was repealed, did allow for an exception for a court-ordered mandate for those information to be released. Defense attorneys like myself would have to file what's called Gissendaner motions. In the 6 years that I've practiced, I have filed multiple Gissendaner motions, but the reality is we as defense attorneys don't get that information. So that exception is pretty much just fluff for most of us. Let's switch gears just a little and talk about another law that was passed in Governor Cuomo's say their name police reform, where he's trying to push for this Amy Cooper 911 call, where if you call the police on someone and you are lying to the police, and it is somewhat of an attack based on someone's race, religion, or creed, or protected class, they're trying to make that criminal. Let's take a look at the video that sparked the idea that this Amy Cooper 911 legislation should be passed.
Would you please stop? Sir, I'm asking you to stop.
Please don't come close to me.
Sir, I'm asking you to stop recording me.
Please don't come close to me.
Please take your phone off.
Please don't come close to
And
me.
I'm taking a picture and calling the cops.
Please call the cops. Please call the cops.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Please tell them whatever you like.
Excuse me? I'm sorry, I'm in the Ramble, and there is a man, African-American, he has a bicycle helmet. He is recording me and threatening me and my dog. There is an African-American man, I am in Central Park. He is recording me and threatening myself and my dog. And my... I'm sorry, I can't hear you either. I'm being threatened by a man in the Ramble. Please send the cops immediately. I'm in Central Park in the Ramble. I don't know.
Thank you.
I mean, we've seen these videos over and over and over again. It's not just that she's saying it's an African-American man. And hey, that's a descriptor. That's fine. I look like an African-American man. I'm a black man. I get that. It's a description officers actually ask for and is used to prosecute people. But the theatrics that come with it, the screaming and crying as if she is in the course of being assaulted, that is really where people are using these 911 calls to be destructive to people's lives, especially when they know what happens when officers get there. Mike Korobonic, let's have you jump in here. I already know the law should be enforced in terms of making false claims, but that's not happening. Do you see these Amy Cooper 911 false call laws as being something that could further the progress of eliminating these types of situations?
Oh, absolutely. I think, I mean, when you think about it, all these encounters begin somewhere. And the encounter begins, first of all, the police officers are going to be dispatched to the scene. And once they're dispatched to the scene, based upon her acting, they've got a heightened sense of scrutiny when they get there. They're prepared for something that isn't happening. And it just is what triggers each and every event that likely could lead to a confrontation once the accused and the police officer meet.
And DeWitt, this is not complaining to the manager or at Starbucks or some other kind of establishment. This has serious repercussions. And so, and also, we can look at it from both sides. It's dangerous for the officer to run guns in blazing in these types of situations. And it's obviously dangerous for those citizens who are having the police called on them falsely. Do you think that this could be something that starts in New York and maybe finds its way over to you in California?
I would love it if New York continued to show some leadership in this regard and made that a bill. And I would be happy and delighted that it would be appropriately named the Amy Cooper bill, as I think she deserves and has earned that honor. Listen, let's get at the heart of this. What it is weaponizing race. I understand, yes, race is a descriptor that might be necessary in criminal prosecution or in many variations of police work. However, what the woman simply did was weaponize race and play on old tropes of the black man coming to hurt this nice young white woman. Please come rescue me. It is a trope that is as old as time, and I hope that if a state like New York shows some leadership and makes this actually law, that other states will follow, including California. And I think something like that could definitely happen here.
Yeah, I would have thought that we would have learned this lesson back from Emmett Till, but of course, we have to revisit it over and over again, that false allegations against people of color can cause very serious reactions that amount to death. We're going to continue with more here at Justice and Peace, following up on the George Floyd case after this break.
This is the kind of card that has America talking.
People say dress your age. That's ridiculous. Age is just an illusion. How you show up for the world, that's what's real. What's your idea? I put it out there with the GoDaddy website. Some people say dress your age. That's ridiculous. I dress how I feel. Yesterday, I felt bold with boundless energy. This morning, I woke up calm and unbreakable. Tomorrow? Who knows? Age is just an illusion. How you show up for the world, that's what's real. What's your idea? Put it out there with the GoDaddy website. Make the world you want.
These are our classes, our happy hours, our dates, our birthday parties, our shopping. We're learning new things.
Nice technique with that knife.
And getting in touch with things we left behind. These are our lives now. Come be a part of it online. GoDaddy is making it possible for everyone to create a website for free. Learn more at GoDaddy.com.
Some people say dress your age. That's ridiculous. Age is just an illusion. How you show up for the world, that's what's real. What's your idea? I put it out there with the GoDaddy website.
For everyone like you making their business work online, there are people searching, headed in your direction. So since people are still looking for what you do, GoDaddy is making it possible for you to create a website for free. Start now at GoDaddy.com.
Some people say dress your age. That's ridiculous. That's how I feel. Yesterday, I felt bold with boundless energy. This morning, I woke up calm and unbreakable. Tomorrow, who knows? Age is just an illusion. How you show up for the world, that's what's real. What's your idea? Put it out there with the GoDaddy website. Make the world you want. Some people say dress your age. That's ridiculous. Age is just an illusion. How you show up for the world, that's what's real. What's your idea? I put it out there with the GoDaddy website.
These are our classes, our happy hours, our dates, our birthday parties, our shopping. We're learning new things.
Nice technique with that knife.
And getting in touch with things we left behind. These are our lives now. Come be a part of it online. GoDaddy is making it possible for everyone to create a website for free. Learn more at GoDaddy.com.
9708.
We are getting more and more information about the George Floyd case that I think at the very least raises eyebrows, but for most of us infuriates us. We're finding out that there was a deeper relationship between former Officer Chauvin and George Floyd. Now, we heard rumors that they worked together in some capacity as security guard individuals at an establishment. Now, how deep that was, we didn't really know until yesterday. Let's take a look.
CBS News is learning new information about George Floyd and Derek Chauvin from a man who worked security with both of them at this nightclub in Minneapolis. Coworker David Penny is breaking his silence, telling us that the two men had a history.
What kind of history?
They bumped heads.
How?
It has a lot to do with Derek being extremely aggressive within the club with some of the patrons, which was an issue.
The Floyd family says it believes what happened on May 25th was, in part, personal. Is there any doubt in your mind that Derek Chauvin knew George Floyd?
No, he knew him.
How well?
We interfaced with officers.
How well did he know him?
I would say pretty well.
Maya Santa Maria, the owner of the now Torch Club, described how Chauvin treated black patrons when she talked to us for the upcoming CBS News special, Justice for All. Do you think Derek had a problem with black people?
I think he was afraid and intimidated.
By black folks?
Yeah.
This boggles the mind from a factual standpoint, but because we're all lawyers, let's get to the heart of the legal matter. DeWitt, with this information, do you think that we can see an upgrade in charges? Because we've seen it go from murder 3 to murder 2. Do you think it can go from murder 2 to murder 1? And now, is there a potential for hate crime charges based on this information?
I do believe that there is a great potential for this to be upgraded to a first-degree murder a charge, as well as hate crime. We found out about a week ago that Chauvin had worked at the same nightclub or had moonlighted at the same nightclub that George Floyd had worked at, and that the owner believed that that Mr. Chauvin had been heavy-handed with some of the patrons there. Now, look, before I was a lawyer, I also used to perform in a hip-hop group in college and nightclubs. And one thing I'll know is that the owners aren't sitting around at the nightclubs. So there's only one way that the owner would have gotten that information told to her, and that would be if some staff there at the club had let her know that Chauvin was being a little heavy-handed. That led me to believe that, these two had to know each other, because the security folks are the people who would say that, right? Which George was. I think absolutely it could be a first-degree charge, and depending upon, whether or not there's real evidence of him having some type of racial animus, you could see a hate crime, but a hate crime might be a little of a stretch right now.
Corbonix, let's go straight to the murder question. Do you think that this information can upgrade from murder 2 to murder 1 for the prosecutor?
I think it very well will, and it's all I keep thinking about is 404B evidence. I think this trial, if this evidence is investigated and found to be credible, absolutely brings it to a first degree. The interesting question is how they're going to substantiate these claims for the prosecution. I mean, this is a case where the prosecution better take it one step at a time and make sure the evidence is airtight and credible. They're going to need that for this prosecution. From a defense standpoint, it's going to be interesting, because hearing that, I'm sure, is going to put lawyers in a position who are defending this officer to see where this all came from and how it's going to affect, but it could be heavily weighed against the defendant in this case.
So this next clip you're going to see, I think I can speak for all of us, as defense attorneys, disgusted us because of how this defense attorney is handling this officer's case. But at the same time, it seems like he's just kind of throwing him to the lions, and maybe we're going to see the justice that we want. Let's take a look at this defense attorney, Earl Gray, who spoke about his client and his client's case, that being the officer who specifically held down George Floyd's legs. Maybe the least culpable of all the officers, unless you compare that to the officer who's just standing there, but he kind of throws his client out